Good evening and welcome to another live stream live from beautiful Abruzzo in Italy from a home in Italy. And it's 2024. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Happy New Year, everybody. All the very best to you and to your families. And let's hope it's a fantastic year. And let's hope that it's the time that you finally fulfill one of your dreams and get yourself a home in Italy. And hopefully that will be with us as well. So I had a great start to 2024 because I completely forgot to do the publicity for tonight's show and put it on the on my live streaming software for people to hook on there and say that they're coming. So hopefully people are going to join me. I can see a few people, but let me know. Start writing away in the comments box. Let me know that you're here, and I'm not just talking to myself because tonight, and I can see people are now starting to write. Tonight, I'm actually on my own again. Can you believe it? Tony, what do we call him? The producer. He likes to be called the producer. Has gone on holiday. Can you believe it? He's actually gone away to Frankfurt. That's only because Pescara does live direct flights to Frankfurt. So I think it was obviously on a special offer, so he's just gone away and done that and left me on my own. So you're going to see my eyes going up and down all the time while I'm looking at the chats that are coming through now. So forgive me if I don't respond to everybody, but I will do my best. I promise you. What I will say is, if you give me 10 minutes before you start sending questions, you can tell I'm not with it. It's been a bit of a party, but we'll talk about that shortly. I'll let you know when to start sending your questions in, because if you send any questions in now, then I'm not going to be, I just won't be able to do it, unfortunately. So because I won't be able to see while I'm talking to you and giving a few of the notices that I will be doing for the first 10 minutes or so. So if you can hold off your questions, and I have got a number of questions that have been sent on email, so thank you so much for that. And I can start seeing more people coming in. Can't see anybody on Facebook yet. If anybody is on Facebook, I think Facebook, for some strange reason, comes in a little bit slower than YouTube. But if anybody's watching this live on Facebook, then do let us know by writing a message, just so I can make sure that everything is streaming correctly. So it says I am on my own today, so I will be doing a few things. Obviously, it's going to go much smoother now Tony's out of the way, but there you go. Anyway, how's it been? Have you had a good Christmas and good New Year for those of you who celebrate Christmas and New Year? Hope it has. It's just flown by, though, hasn't it? And what is with all the food? Why? Why do we do it? I mean, I'm at the stage now where I don't even want to look at food and drink anymore. You know, how have I managed to get to that stage? And for me, it is just absolutely flown by as well. Unbelievable. But there you go. The great thing about living in Italy is the celebrations don't stop here. We've got until the 6th, which is Saturday, where we celebrate La Befana, as it's called. There's obviously a religious name for it as well. But La Befana is when the witch apparently brings gifts to the good children and charcoal to the naughty children. So let's see what we'll be getting this year. So it is still, strangely enough, Christmas here, and they're still doing nativity scenes and things like that actually on the 6th. So I am used to it now. It's been many years since we've been here, so we are used to this, and I love it. It's a nice extension. We start Christmas later than most places, and we finish a little bit later as well. So we are still in festive mood at the moment, and we are still actually closed at the moment. But I thought that I would be, you know, the great person that I am, and jump back on here, because 2 weeks is too long, isn't it, to leave it? We have to keep these live streams going. So if you are still sending emails in, hopefully you're still getting my out of office responses and things like that, because we are closed at the moment, but we do reopen on the 8th, which is Monday. So I will be continuing in festive spirit, and then I will be starting my, now then, this must be a good 20 years. So it'll be my 21st diet, which I've promised myself, as per every year, I've promised myself that I'm going to do it this year. Let's see. Because this year, I'll tell you now, in August time, I'm the big 50. So I know a lot of you won't believe that. Obviously, you're all thinking that I'm around about 30. I could feel somebody laughing. But yeah, it's the big 50 this year. And I promised myself a long time ago that when I get to 50, which then I thought was old, now I'm sort of there, and apologies for people that are older than 50. Now I'm here and can't believe it. I need to start being a little bit more sensible, just a little bit. So let's just see what happens. Some stamps are saying you're just a young whippersnapper. Yes, that's how I feel at the moment. Well, no, actually, no, I don't. I feel Christmas and New Year. It's tough living in Italy. You've only got to walk out of your door and there's food everywhere. Even your neighbors are waiting with plates of food. You just can't get away from it, and drink and everything else. So it's actually quite nice to do this because I can't do anything. I can't eat anything for the next hour. I can't eat, which is fantastic. Anyway, hope everyone had a fantastic one, and all the very best to you for 2024. And if Tony's tuned in, anyway. Moving on, let's get on with some notices. So the live streams do start again. Not start again, obviously they're starting now, but they are back to regular, back to Tuesdays. This time 7 p.m. Italian time. I will be putting the program up at the weekend, because what we're going to do is we're going to kick things off with a couple of serious ones, like we have to do every now and then. So next week it's going to be all about preparing before you start looking for properties, the kind of things that you should be looking out for and that kind of thing, the kind of what can I say, the kind of things to watch out for as well. So as you're preparing, whether you're going to remote buy or whether you're going to come out here and start looking, it's just a case of being prepared of what's to come. Then we're going to go through all the legal things, the kind of contracts that you may be expected to sign and that sort of thing. We're going to do this sort of week after week. And then in the middle, we're going to have some of the Meet the Home Buyers, which I know a lot of you do like those. And I think the group Meet the Home Buyers have been pretty good recently as well. Anybody that didn't see the Christmas one, I really enjoyed doing that one. Then that's... you should look back on that and have a quick look at what we did 2 weeks ago. And I think we're going to do a couple of the group ones as well. We've got Mr. Grim Reaper himself, who's agreed to come in at the end of January. That's the tax accountant, the person that tells us all the nasty things that we have to do once you live here in Italy. He's going to be on explaining things. That's Gianluigi. Obviously, David Nixon will do his regular appearance, talking about currency exchange and that kind of thing. That's going to probably be in February now. And as I said, we're going to have a few serious subjects in the meantime. So I can see some questions coming through at the moment, but if you can, I've just seen this one. So Flat Bottomed. What a great name. Flat Bottom. Oh, Flat Bottom Girl. I didn't see that. Okay. Any idea if or when the Italian government will lift the injunction on Canadians purchasing real estate in Italy? Okay. Well, let's just say two things. I've put this question on, excuse me, on now because it's an important one. But please hold your questions off just for a few more minutes. What I will say, Flat Bottom Girl, is that it's not the Italian government's fault. A lot of people seem to be having a go at I was going to say having a go at the Flat Bottom Girl, the Italian government. What it is, Italian governments have a reciprocal agreement with many, many countries. What does that mean? It means for me to carry on trading with you in certain ways, there's certain things that we will agree on that is reciprocal. So if you change it, we'll change it. It's automatic. That's what happens. And one of the things that was agreed with Canada is that Italians can buy in Canada and Canada can buy in Italy. No, Canada. I say that right. Canadians can buy in Italy. And that's just part of the reciprocal agreement. So if either Italy or Canada or Italy and I don't know, Australia or Italy, whoever they've got reciprocal agreements with, if one party changes that, then it automatically changes the next one, the other party. So it was the Canadian government that said no more foreign buyers. Okay, they said no more foreign buyers until January 2025. So another year, but nothing stopped. You keep looking now, and there's certain things you can do once it gets to sort of September time where you can really start looking and maybe lock in a few things, but I'll explain that later. But yeah, so it's not the Italian government, it is to do with the Canadian government. So if they do what they said they were going to do and cancel that in January, that means then that the Italian government will do exactly the same. So yeah, hopefully from next year. But I did have some people asking me, how can I get rid of this? I I did have some people, it's going to be like this all night tonight, believe me, asking me that if they have a different passport, let's say you live in Canada and you're a Canadian citizen, but you have a passport, or you're a citizen of, I don't know, the UK or the US as well, then you can buy. It's not down to residence, it's to do with citizenship. So if you have another passport and you live in Canada and you really want to buy a property in Italy, and you have a US passport, or you have a UK passport, or a European passport, something like that, then you can already jump back queue, if you like, and start buying. So yeah, hopefully that clears it up. Yeah, so if you can hold off questions just for a short while, just want to run through a few things. The tours, so I speak many times about the tours that we're doing in 2024. So the first one is the end of this month, obviously completely booked, and anybody that's on here that is booked onto that, we are late getting in touch with people. That happens all the time. That's just me, unfortunately, but we will be in touch with you by the latest of Monday the 8th. That's when we get back. So it may well be Saturday, but it's more than likely going to be Monday the 8th. We're going to send emails to everybody, create a WhatsApp group, and then you'll get instructions for what happens then when you actually arrive here. March is full. There's possibility of 2 spaces in April, and that's because a couple that were coming on the April tour have now decided to remote buy a fantastic place. I'm sure it was April that they said. In fact, I know the couple's watching at the moment. So if they could maybe write on there, yes, it is April. You know who you are. You're moving to my town as well. But yeah, I couldn't remember if it was April or May, but I think it was April. So if they give up their spaces, then there's going to be two tickets available on there. Then we're still contemplating June. The problem is that we do usually have a lot of signings towards the summertime, so it's difficult sometimes to try and fit these dates on, but we are still contemplating June. And then the autumn date will be published around about February time. A few people have been asking when they're going to be. They're usually the last Thursday and Friday of the month, and there will be one in September, one in October, one in November. There may be 2 in October, but we're still undecided on that. But we're not going to book it just yet because it's obviously quite a way in advance. So it's probably going to be round about sort of February, March time when we give those dates out. Those of you who don't know what the tours are, go onto our website, which is www.homeinitaly.com. Click on tours, and all the information is there. Basically, it's the guaranteed way to meet us, so to meet myself. Usually, hopefully, my wife will be joining as well on this time. Domenico from who we work with in the Sulmona area. Claudio, who we work with in this local area where I am now, and a few, possibly even the geometer as well, and a few other people. We go around on group trips, viewing properties to suit every budget, view loads of different towns and areas. We eat together. It's just a great time, and it's a great way to come out and see properties, especially if you're not sure whether you're, I don't know, maybe you're a little bit of a cautious person, you want to check things out before, come to the area, make sure that we exist and that we're real, and sort of get to know us and all the rest. But it's a fantastic way of doing all of that. So we'll be putting more dates on as soon as possible. But as I say, go onto the website, click on the tour section, and you can do that. Talking about the website, all the properties are now on the website, and the ones that are not on, that you may have liked before, if they're not on, they're no longer for sale. Obviously, we sell properties all the time, so it could be that some of them that are on there now may have sold recently, because the website will be updated sort of once every week. But obviously, we're away at the moment. But the vast majority of properties that are now on the site are bang up to date. However, I've still not completely finished the new website because I've got a few videos to do before I do that. But the most important thing was to get the properties on, and that is done. There's going to be a new forum. There's going to be Patreon stuff on there. There's going to be a lot of new content. But the most important thing is the new ones are on. And obviously, we get new properties all the time. So they will be added as they come in. So I think we've got about 2 or 3 during this break. So once we're back on the 8th, I will start inputting those as well. So make sure you have a look on the website, see if there's any new ones that you've missed, and see if there's any that are still available that maybe you thought had sold. Speaking about that, the video properties are going to continue every Saturday at 3 p.m. The video properties, we are trying to do it twice per week. The problem is we don't video every single property we get because we just can't physically do it. And I could send somebody out to video it and me do a voiceover, but I like to be there. I like to be sure once I want once I know that you're interested in a property, I need to be 100% sure that I've been there and I can speak to you properly about it, and be 100% sure when I speak to you, because I don't like doing the voiceover stuff and without me seeing it. It's not what I like to do. So if you do miss out on video properties, because I would say 60 to 70% of them go straight away, I don't really think it's the end of the world. Lots of people do. We just can't physically video all the properties. So there's still plenty for you to look at. So make sure you have a good look on the website at all. Lorraine's got a great question here. Includes fees and taxes. Is the total of all costs for closing correct? Okay, so Lorraine, even though you're buying one, Lorraine, anyway, but are you thinking about another one? Anyway, yeah, so whenever you see the includes fees and taxes, which I'm now trying to do with the vast majority of our video properties, yes, it means includes everything. So it includes our fees, includes the geometry fees, everything else. And what we do with those properties is, if I contact my colleagues and say to them, look, you need to speak to the owners, because first of all, the video properties are an excellent way for them to sell quickly, or there's a good chance they will sell quickly. And I ask my colleagues to make sure they speak to their owners and they negotiate with them to get them to the best price possible. So the best walkaway price that owner will accept. And then the agents contact me back, or whoever it is I'm dealing with contact me back and say, this is the bottom line that they will not drop below. Then what we do is we'll work out all the fees and taxes on top of that and send it out to you. And that's how I want to do it, because I just think it's a better way. You know what the price is. We know it's the best we can get. We know that. We've spoken to the owners. We know that is, rather than going through the thing of, can I have 1,000 off? No, 500, no, 750, no, 6, and all the rest of it. That's it. And what you're going to find is that a fantastic value for money, and they really are. And they've all been checked by myself. They've all the areas are usually videos, everything. I don't know. It's just in my opinion, it's a better way. Better way of doing it. Lorraine's saying yes and yes, so she's going to buy another property. Lorraine's definitely going to be, because I've got a feeling she's going to be a fun person to have on a future Meet the Home Buyer. So because when you read some of the messages, they're fantastic. So you'll definitely be definitely seeing her in the future. But yeah, that's what we thought would be the best way. So when you do see that includes all fees and taxes, which hopefully is going to be on a good 90% of future video properties, then that's what it actually means. So you know exactly what's what. The only thing potentially it doesn't include is, if you are doing remote buying, then is the notary at your side of wherever you are in the world to sort out the power of attorney, which, to be honest with you, I know in the States it costs very little. I think the most expensive place is the UK, which costs around about £300 to £400. But in the States, people tell me sort of $20, $30, $40, whatever it is. So I know you have notaries and all the banks and things like that. Scott is saying, do you also include utility setups as part of all your included fees? No. The utility setups are the nightmare of our life. They are. You would think it would be easy, but it's not. We hate charging people to charging people to set up utilities, but believe me, it's a nightmare. So unfortunately, we have to, and no, it doesn't include that. It includes, it may be something we consider in the future, doing something like that. But the reason why we haven't is not all properties need a utility setup. Maybe somebody's buying a pile of bricks, a ruin, and buying land or something like that. That's usually why we don't do that. But a great question anyway. Also, we've got somebody else is asking if inspections. I'll come back to Don. I'll come back to your question shortly. So yeah, so that's the hope with the video properties. That's for me, it's just the best and the easiest way to do it. We're also getting some new areas. I've been contacted by some people in Cortona, which we're considering. We call this business a home in Italy because the idea was we could help anywhere, which we can. But I am really keen to make sure that when we do video properties and everything else, as I've just said, that I've seen the properties. It's so important for me, because even though nobody can say anything or do anything to me, if you get here and you say, Dave, this property is terrible, that's not my fault. But I do have a conscience, believe it or not, I do. And I need to make sure that the video properties and ones that we push in that kind of way, where people are definitely going to remote buy, I need to be 100% sure that that it's something that I would buy. And then I'm happy to pass that on to yourself. So yeah, there's going to be some new areas, but there's also some new areas in Abruzzo, since Abruzzo is so incredibly popular, and so it should be. And I've been contacted by a fantastic company in the center of Chieti, because Chieti is a beautiful city, because we do get people asking for properties in bigger towns and cities. And Chieti is a fantastic one, really close to Pescara, but it is, unfortunately, Pescara was bombed during the war, so it doesn't really have a historical part, whereas Chieti has got a brilliant historical centre. So we're going to be featuring some of their stuff. They're two fantastic people run by father and son, and I'm going to be meeting up with them in January. So that's going to be happening really soon as well. So there's lots of new things to come. And the other thing, the last thing now before I start going on to questions, and I'm going to put this question on from Don, because he has put it on already. So if you give me another couple of minutes, and then everybody else can start posting questions. So the last thing that I will say is these Q&A sessions, I really want these to become a big part of what we do, because so many people ask if we can have phone meetings and things like that, which is great, but I physically cannot speak to everybody that asks for phone and Zoom meetings and things like that, as much as I would love to. And believe me, I really would. I just can't physically do it, because they always last between half an hour, 45 minutes. There's just not enough time in a day. And if I set aside maybe one afternoon, I could maybe fit 3 or 4 people in. And so this is why we do these Q&A sessions. Now, obviously, if you're in the middle of buying a property, or you're starting to use some of our services and that kind of thing, then obviously we have time for you. And it sounds horrible to say that we only have time for you if you use our services. I don't mean it to come across like that. But the vast majority of questions that you guys want to ask on a phone call, I think to myself in my head, while I'm being very polite to the person, I think to myself, all these questions I've answered so many times on these sessions, or it's on the website and I don't mind, and I understand that people need that, but I want these sessions to be more, I don't know, where you feel that if there's something on your mind, a specific thing on your mind that maybe I haven't done a video on, or maybe I can't point you in the right direction on, that you can go ahead and ask the question, and I will answer it on here. So like many people have done for this session, please send me questions by email. If I don't answer you sort of in person, then I will answer on here, but we will always respond to emails, always. It's just unfortunate that we can't do all the phone meetings that we would like to do. So use these Q&A sessions, because this is what it's for. If there's something on your mind, right away and let me know. And if you want me to answer something live, send me an email, info@homeiniitaly.com, and I will answer it live with no problem at all. But I really want you to use these, because for me, these are important sessions, and we're going to start doing these at least once a month. Okay, so you can start asking your questions. I will answer as many as I can, and I will also go through some that's been sent to me. Any I don't get through that's on email, I will get through. I'll use them for future sessions. So Don is saying, are inspections typically performed before or after contract is presented? Depends what type of inspections you're talking about, Don. If you're talking about an inspection of documents, then obviously that's done before. That has to be done, legally done, and it's sort of done also by the notary as well. Look at all the questions. I'm going to miss all of these. I will get to you all. But yes, Don, if you're thinking about an inspection of the property, then no, they're done if you're having a mortgage. If not, then you have to request, and pay for somebody to do the inspection. I must be honest with you, they're not that common here. And I have mixed feelings about this one, because when we bought this property, I've said this before on other sessions, there was a huge crack in this property. And the person that showed me the property was also a geometer, and he explained what it was, and it was very, very, very helpful. And he was an old business partner in the end. We joined in business, and he told me what it was and told me how much it would be to rectify, and we did that. We followed that, and everything was fine. But because we'd come from the UK, the first thing I did was to have an inspection. But when I read the inspection, a bit like the ones that we get back in the UK, you actually read it and think, what has this actually told me? You know, when somebody says the electrics are old, well, I can see that. It's an old property. It would be better if the electrics were upgraded. Well, obviously, You know, my electrics or our electrics in this house were done maybe 10 years ago, especially in this where I am now, and on the top floor, maybe less than 10 years. But if somebody said, would they be better if they were renewed? Of course they would. These were probably only done maybe 6 or 7 years ago. They work perfect. But an inspector is always going to say, but obviously they would be better if they're upgraded. But we wouldn't upgrade these for many years to come. So I started to think, you know, then people talk about, yeah, but what about foundations and the roof? They're not going to dig down in the foundations, and they're certainly not going to go up on the roof. So it's not typically performed. Absolutely not. If you want one, then obviously ask a professional to do one for you. You know, we know people in the areas where we work that could potentially do that, but you need to be asking what you need for them to look at, because if you're expecting everything, I read an article on I can't remember which, it was possibly Facebook or something like that, where somebody was talking about not to expect, when it says habitable, not to expect to the American version of habitable or the English version of habitable. It depends what you're thinking of. You know, if you're thinking a home's gonna have air conditioning, brand new electric, everything else, it's not necessarily like that if you're looking at an old property. So you have to look at what you're looking at and think, what do I want these people to tell me? And then get the advice based on that. Because as I said, the guy that did ours, it was very thorough, but it was the most obvious. It was like a script from the Monty Python, you know, series. They were telling me things that were just so obvious, you know, ridiculous things. So to me, it wasn't worth it. But yeah, not typically done. But you need to see, you need to think about what you want answering. Okay, so Ron, who's buying another fantastic property in Sulmona. If a house has been lived in continuously, would utilities remain on with just a change of an ownership? Are larger cities faster in changes? Honestly, Ron, they're a nightmare. In your case, you should be okay because somebody's living in it. So usually when somebody's living in it, then we do say to the owners, please, please, please leave them on and let us just do a name change. It's still not straightforward, but it just makes it easier. And it's just a time thing. Now, I think I read, Ron, that you're coming out. I think I saw on your Facebook that you're coming out. So obviously we'll catch up next week when we speak. But yeah, if you're looking to buy the property and then immediately go and start living in it, you either need to give a good amount of time or see what's on there at the moment, and then speak to the owners to see if they will leave it on. Obviously, they do meter reading, so they're responsible up to that time. But it's not always on just because it's a change of ownership. So it's always best asking the agent or whoever you're dealing with, and they'll let you know. As I said, in your case, Ron, send me an email, which I think you have. Send me an email and I'll check with the owners. Check with the owners next week. And if anybody's wondering why I'm giving preferential treatment to Ron, I'm not. It's just he's due to buy a property really soon. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Pete, it's Pacentro Pete, and I keep saying it, Pete. I will say that one of my many New Year's resolutions is to get Pacentro Pete. Why do we call him Pacentro Pete? Because he's got a house in Pacentro. But we will get you on, Pete. I promise you. You may even be the next one. Pete, when considering a renovation to an existing house, is there a point where the size / complexity of the project requires you to hire an architect or engineer? Yeah, I mean, if it's structural, I mean, wherever possible, Pete, I would always say to use a geometer. Unless you're sort of building extensions or something new, because geometers tend to know engineers and architects as well. They tend to work with them. I just find geometers a bit more, I don't know. If I had my geometer sat next to me now, even though he doesn't speak English, he would be saying, no, I'm not going to say what he would say, but you know, they tend to, if you're wanting to build something from scratch and everything else, I can understand architects and the rest of it. But if it's certain things, then I would try geometry first. And I would say when it starts getting to the point and size, anything structural, if you're doing anything with a structural wall, then you need to be speaking to a geometer. But I would always speak to a geometer anyway. People think, oh, I'll not do that, because I'm not saying you're thinking like this, Pete, but some people think I don't want to get certain permissions and go down that line of permissions because that's going to cost me a fortune. It's just a myth, because when you have, first of all, there's a good chance that you may have to have somebody. So if you're creating rubble in your house, let's say you're taking a load of tiles up and all the rest of it. I'm not saying you need a geometer to come project manage and doing everything. You can do that yourself, but there may be something that you need to the local council, because where are you going to put all this stuff? You know, where you know, there's a document, a small document that you can put into a council to say we're doing X, Y, Z. Because if the Carabinieri, the police, come past your house, hear a load of banging and everything else, and see a load of rubble outside, or even if you're in the countryside, you know, it could be that the Forestale, the police for the national parks and everything else come by and think, okay, well, there's a pile of rubble there. Let's go to the council, because it's their job to do this. Let's go to the local council and just see if there's a project. So let's say it's just a load of you're redoing the tiles, which is fine. You can redo them. But then what do you do with the tiles? And what do these people do? And quite rightly so as well. They will say, okay, they go to the council, there's no permission gone in. Let's just keep our eye and see if this pile of tiles suddenly disappears into thin air. So, and what they do is they come back in a month's time and say, oh, the tiles have gone. Okay, let's knock on the person's door and say, can I have the receipt to where that's gone? And that's what people do. That's what happens. So you say, I just buried it in my garden. You may not be allowed to do that. Or somebody took it away. Can I have the receipt for where they took it away? Because they may have dumped it in the garden. And what happens then is that's your responsibility. So I would say contact a geometer, because the other great thing, what the Italian government does for people is they say, look, if you use a geometer, if you do things correctly, we will give you a discount on your VAT. So that can be on certain materials, on builders' fees and all things like that. So the Italian government is saying to you, do it properly, and we will knock your VAT down from 22% down to 10%. That can be a huge saving, you know. And if the geometry is only needed for certain, let's say it doesn't have to be there all the time, make it sort of project managing almost. Let's just say it's just a basic job. But even if it's a $5,000 job with a builder, for instance, if you put 22% on top of 5,000, that is 1,000, whatever it is. 22% would be, come on, help me, 1,000, whatever it is, 1,200, whatever it is. But if that goes down to 10%, you're only paying 500. So you're already saving yourself 700 there. And that 700, the geometer may say, well, for the kind of permissions you need and for what I need to do, 500, 600, 700 is fine. So what you're doing, you're keeping things within the law. If the police do come around, you say, this is my geometer, they're taking care of everything. They've got the responsibility to make sure people working on your property are registered and they have the insurances in place and everything else. They're taking responsibility of it all, and it's not really costing you anything. So I would say, Pete, that was a long answer, wasn't it? I would say always check with any type of work, because you may find that it may just work out better for you doing that anyway. Okay, Ian, let's just have a quick look what Ian's saying. I'm not reading these questions before, I'm just putting them on there. Ian, I'm sure it's been asked before, but how fast and reliable does the fixed internet tend to be in these areas? Okay, well, I'm going to say fantastic, even though in our Christmas special, I completely lost my internet and couldn't get back on straight away. Joking aside, I think it's fantastic. We didn't have fiber optics here where I am now up until 2 years ago. We had Wi-Fi, and that was great, but wasn't necessarily fast. But to be honest with you, I could still do these sessions. We still did all the work on the website and all the rest of it. Fiber optics here, we get between 250 and 450 download and similar uploads. It's fantastic, and I find it really reliable. So you will be surprised, because again, a lot of especially the smaller towns and villages, because the Italian government want people back in these villages, then they tend to put the services in there. So there's one village that's close to Pescara that there's quite a few people that bought in this place, Castiglione a Casauria, I think it's called. There's about 300 people that live there, but it's right next to Torre di Passere, which is a much bigger town. Torre di Passere, I don't know if they have now, but the last time I went, didn't have any fiber optics. But the little village of 200-300 people had brilliant fiber optics. And so you'll be surprised how good the internet is. And also, worst case scenario, if you have to use, and I'm not going to advertise his services, but we all know who he is that's got these things flying around in the sky. which I know cost a fortune in most countries. But here in Italy, he's giving contracts for people. I think it costs something like €40 a month. I think it's about a 200 setup, something like that, then €40 a month, which is almost like having sort of fiber optics, but up in the sky. And I understand they're really reliable. So at those sorts of prices, it's great. Whereas we pay for fiber optics here, where we are 20 something a month. I know everybody I speak to, especially from the US, maybe not so much from the UK, but US and Canada, say that it's about the third of the price that they're paying, and much better speeds as well. So yeah, you will be surprised with the services that's available. Okay, so let's see. I've got a feeling tonight, looking at all of these questions, I'm not going to get onto anybody's questions online. So apologies if you've gone online. Let's see what this one is. This is Ross Lambie. Is it okay to buy a holiday home in Italy using a UK limited company? I guess there's Italian VAT to pay. Any insight would be greatly appreciated. Yes, you can buy as a company. The biggest thing, if you're buying something new, there's VAT on properties. You shouldn't be paying VAT on an older property, but obviously do double check that. The biggest thing that costs you more, that goes what can I say? The biggest con to that is that when you buy a property as a person, so let's say you buy a property for €100,000, there's a pretty good chance that your taxes will be based on a value that's much, much less, because here your taxes are based on what we call the catastale value, the cadastral value of a property, which can be half, and it can even be less than half. We did a sale recently, 150k, and it had a cadastral value of 40k, and the taxes were based on the 40k. So the purchase tax of 9% if you're resident, 2% as non-resident. So your 9% will, instead of it being based on the cadastral value, will be based on what you pay for it if you're buying as a company, because you're buying it as a company. So they don't give you that discount. So you will pay 9% on what you actually pay, rather than 9% of the taxable value. So a property of 100k, if it had a cadastral value of 50k, usually would pay 9% of the 50k, whereas you would pay 9. It's going to cost you $4,000 more, basically, to do that roughly. So that's the only downside to it. But yes, you can buy as a company with no problem at all. Okay, let's say I am missing Tony a little tiny bit, because I have to sort of click this, and so apologies for my eyes flicking around. He'll be just sat in a bar somewhere doing nothing, as per usual. Let's see. What's this one? So Lewis, are these properties full ownership? I got scared somewhere else with bare ownership. Not sure what bare ownership means. But yes, everything you buy, unless it clearly states that, I mean, there's a project near to us, they're selling, I daren't say the timeshare word because I've been told so many times it's not timeshare, but they're selling time, if you like. They're doing, which is fine. People, go for these things. It could be a fantastic project as well. But yeah, obviously it's going to be clearly marked in the contract that you're not buying the actual property. But in 99% of cases, you're buying the property. Here, they don't have leasehold. Don't know about the US, Canada, Australia, all the other countries, not sure about. But in the UK, if you can have a lease. You buy a lease on a property. Could be 100-year lease, could be 200 years, it could be 50 years, whatever it could be. You don't actually own the property. Where here, they don't exist. It's freehold. So you're buying the property. Even if it's in an apartment block, you're buying your space inside. So it's not bare. I'm presuming that's what you mean by bare ownership. You actually own the full. But obviously, you don't own the building, because everybody that owns a space within that building, an apartment within that, they each individually own their apartments. But you don't own, for instance, the staircase up the middle. You don't own the roof. You don't own the foundations or the bricks and mortar, that kind of thing. But you own your property inside. The rest is communal areas. So whether that's car parking, or whether that's, the roads that access, or the staircase and that kind of thing. But yeah, you shouldn't really, it's quite unusual not to have full ownership in. If you're not sure, then please ask, because if you're saying that you got scared before, I'd be interested to know what you were looking at, because you do, it shouldn't really be like, if you're looking at traditional properties, it shouldn't, they should just be fully owned. Okay, so Deborah, let's have a quick look. Hopefully I can answer all of these, because usually Tony sifts through them, even though he does throw me a curveball every now and then. Deborah is saying, what steps would we need to take in order to get a pre-approval for a mortgage? This may not be needed, but I would rather be informed just in case. Deborah, getting mortgages are a nightmare now. There are companies saying that they can get mortgages for people. I haven't found one yet. There was someone that advertised on a Facebook page that I own, and I am planning on contacting him, because he said that he could get mortgages with no problem. I haven't found one yet, unfortunately. We used to, and Barclays Bank used to lend, and I'm sure somebody must, but it is so difficult unless you've got income here, unless you've got assets here and everything else here. It's so difficult to get a mortgage as a foreigner. It's hard enough for locals. So Deborah, and it can take so long as well. I used to know somebody that did have a company that used to help people like yourself that potentially want a mortgage, and he stopped doing it because he just said he had to charge so much because the amount of work that got in, and still couldn't guarantee it to anybody, that he just stopped being in business. So I would say don't, if you don't need to. But if I get any more information from this guy that contacted, then obviously I will let you know. Let's have a look at this one. This is from Joe. Now, hey mate, where is the best? You sound like from my neck of the woods. Where is the best place to buy in Italy? I'm presuming that's saying, with public transport in your area. Let me know, please. Okay, great question, Joe. Because public transport is fantastic in Italy. However, it's not always available in the smaller villages, smaller towns and villages. And some properties will be advertised with some agents where people, like for instance, where I live in Palombaro, or outside of Palombaro. Somebody else selling properties here may say to you there is public transport, because they're not lying if they say that. However, the public transport that's here runs in line with the school times. So you tend to get from where we are, and that passes right outside my door, even though I'm in the countryside. You can get to Casoli, you can get to Lanciano, and you can get to Chieti. So I believe, even though I've never been on I've never been on any of them, but my kids have used the others. They pass by my house from about 6:30 in the morning to about 7:30, and then they come back between 2 o'clock and about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So they run in time with the kids going to school and coming back from school. So yes, in theory, I could say Palombaro has public transport. But again, this is why you need to trust. I'm not saying every agent is going to say, the incorrect things, but you really need to, if it's important to you, you need to be sure, because it is true it's got public transport, but can you get around easily? Not really. And if you're only using public transport, it wouldn't be my choice, even though I absolutely love living here. Move closer to the town coast and bigger towns, so moving closer towards Lanciano, possibly Atessa, Vasto, some of those big places, and then yes, you will get more frequent. Definitely moving towards the coast, they will be more frequent. I still say, everybody knows what I'm going to say, or regular listeners are going to know what I'm going to say, but I still think the place that I've seen great public transport, included in most of the smaller towns around as well, is in the Sulmona area. And it's also on the motorway network to Rome. It's on the main coach services to Rome. So I would say sort of between Pescara and Sulmona, running in that motorway, if you can find anything just off there. But I think Sulmona and surrounding areas have got great transport links. But also this area, I say Lanciano and places like that, the thing we're missing at this side is the train stations run by the coast, whereas in Sulmona, because it runs from Pescara to Rome, you've got the train stations there as well. So I would say, if it's really important to you, Joe, then look around Sulmona, in my opinion. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Little Treasures. Some great names. In fact, this might be a new thing. I think we may need to just go for some crazy mad names in future when we do these Q&As. Little Treasures. Are you going to add rentals on your website? We would like to come and stay for 2 or 3 months before purchasing a property. Yes, we are. The guy who is, or the couple, should I say, that have got some fantastic rental properties. They are basically sponsoring these evenings we should do, which is fantastic. Completely forgot the name of that, so I'm not going to say it. Lewis, if you're listening, then apologies. Completely forgot the name of the website that he's going to have. It's terrible, isn't it? It's been a heavy Christmas. But yes, he's going to put his properties on our website, and obviously you'll deal with him direct. Doesn't come through us at all. You just contact the owner direct, and he's got some fantastic properties around the Sulmona area, also in Atessa, which is another brilliant town that we're dealing quite a lot in now. He's got places near to us in Palombaro. He's got a place in Lama di Peligna. He's got some fantastic properties based in the US, but he is moving to Italy as well. And yes, he will be advertising with us. But if you are interested now, because it's going to be once he's done all the leaflets and all that kind of thing, then obviously it will be advertised on the website. But he has got information now. So if you are interested, then send me an email to info@ahomeinitaly.com, and I will then send me your telephone number as well, especially if you've got WhatsApp on there, and he'll contact you by phone and discuss that with you. But remember that we are closed until Monday, so I won't be responding straight away. Okay. Let's look at the next ones. Well, we've got a normal name now. Brad. Dave, what is a typical time period for closing on the property after a proposta di acquisto is accepted and agreed on? So proposta di acquisto is a proposal to buy. The time is usually agreed at the time, so I'm presuming you're thinking about signing one of these, Brad. I would say usually people like to get things done within 3 months, I would say. So, anybody that's looking to buy properties now through us, then we're looking at the end of March as a potential signing date. It can be done much quicker. We've done some in lightning speeds, but I would always give yourself enough time, because obviously there's lots of things to consider. We'll be talking about this over the coming sessions, the kind of things that you need to get ready before you get ready to sign and all the rest of it. But I would say, if you're saying a typical time, there isn't really a typical time, but I would say up to 3 months. However, if you do need more, then ask them to extend the date. They may ask you to put a bigger deposit down, and in that instance I probably wouldn't do a proposta di acquisto. I would do more of a compromesso, is a little bit more of a complex document. But let's say if you needed 6 months, then ask them. At the end of the day, it's all part of the negotiation, so you can do things that suit you. In the same time, if the owner's documents are good to go and you say, well, I'm ready, provided everybody's available and everything can be done, it can be done easily within a month if needed. Okay. I don't know. Monty Python. You must know Monty Python. Brilliant. Okay. Helen is saying, she's calling me Joe. Is she calling me Joe? Anyway, maybe I'm Dave anyway, but maybe not. If you put the location of a property into Google Maps and ask for directions from, say, the airport you will arrive at, it will give you the public transport. She's talking to somebody else. Sorry, apologies, Helen. So she's actually answering a question for me. Thanks. Actually, Helen, do you want to? We could open up the webcam and you could help me with this. You could take over Tony's part. Apologies for that. Let me just take that one off. Cindy, I'm coming to you now. Let's see if I can get this on. Okay, Cindy, if interested in a property requiring some renovation, what is the best process to get estimates of costs in order to make an informed decision on viability of purchase? Cindy, it's a nightmare in a nutshell, because obviously I understand why people, would want to get some sort of understanding with what things cost. It's so difficult because there are so many considerations. There really are so many considerations. Whether it's just because somebody's version of getting it, just do that. Because lots of people say to me, well, what if I was just going to change the kitchen, maybe paint and just do this and then I look at the property that they're choosing. I'm saying, yeah, but I'm already looking at bad electrics. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the other. It's so difficult, especially when you're basing your offer and your potential decision on whether you should buy something or not. Really, really difficult. No estate agent, no consult anybody is going to give you a good answer to that, because it really puts the pressure on them and it's very difficult. You can get rough ideas if the people deal with a geometer. Let's say they've got a geometer on their side. We do have a geometer on our side, and we can ask. He hates it when I ask him, but you know, we do ask him. What the closest thing I would say, and on the last few restorations, and we're going to have a good few more restorations that are going to start within the early part of this year, and hopefully this will confirm, if you hopefully by summertime or winter. I seem to have gone off. Not sure if people are still seeing me at the moment. Hopefully you guys can still see me. I don't see, everybody seems to come in. Somebody can just let me know if you can still see and hear me. Tony's going to be laughing at this, but it looks like there's nobody looking at me. We can still hear you, Connie is saying. So I've got, it looks like absolutely nobody is watching me at the moment. Video and audio good, hopefully. Okay, so I've got a big 0. Oh no, it's come up now. 145. Perfect. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened then. Who asked me that question about internet? I think I need to plug. I've got this new computer. I think I need to hardwire it rather than using Wi-Fi. Okay, I want to go back to that person that was talking about. Yeah, so we're talking about restorations anyway. What I would say is a reasonable estimate to consider, if the property is upright, it doesn't need anything structural, is between 600 to 900 euros per square meter. Is all right. Is a pretty good good idea. And I'm basing that. There was a recent restoration that we did, I think worked out round about 700 to 800, between 700 and 800 euros per square meter. But they did an awful lot of work. They revealed stone. They had new heating. They had new electrics. I don't want you to go away suddenly thinking this is, you know, everything that I'm only talking about. I'm talking about every property, because I'm not, because you do need to double check. These people even had windows in for that, around about 800 to 900. I would say consider somewhere around about that. But I can't remember the name of the person. I do apologize that asked me the question. If you're really thinking about your offer based on that, first of all, people are not going to drop down a huge amount just because their property needs some, in my experience, because what Italians, and quite rightly, say is the property, I'm selling the property as is. So it's been priced and valued as is. So, you know, for you to sort of think, well, it's going to cost me another 50, the Italian may say, don't really care, you know, this is worth this. So I'd be very careful on that, definitely. But if you can get to know a geometer and find a geometer, then it would be a huge help to you in the future, definitely. Okay, I think I'm now. I think I'm. Where are we? So somebody from Australia is saying, new subscriber, sent a few inquiries to your website, looking forward to coming over the new year. Please, everybody, remember, if you are sending emails, we are off until the 8th. I'm just being nice and doing these things. Here we go. Let's go. If you're interested in taking the course, no, that's somebody. See, this is the thing, is everybody else, everybody's answering each other's questions here, which is great as well. Okay, let's have a look. Here we go. Oliver, transportation. Car buying is difficult until one has residency. Do you have any information whether smaller scooters, Vespas, could be purchased and ridden legally as a non-resident? Okay, so until you have residency, you can't buy a property. Sorry, not a property. Forget that. A car in Italy. You can't. You need to be resident. So, and that's even if you're an Italian citizen. If you don't have residency here, you can't buy it. And people find this unusual, but I think it's the same in the UK, because if an Italian wanted to buy a car in the UK, and I would say in the US as well, if you don't, how would you insure it? Because you don't, first of all, you need to have a UK driving license, and you'd have an Italian driving license. Second of all, you'd need a property there to, to say that, to register the car to that address. But then your insurance would be based there, and they always ask, are you resident? Is this your well, the answer is no. So I think it's difficult sort of anywhere else. But as far as I'm aware, scooters, Vespas, and all that are exactly the same. They come under the same thing. So what I would suggest is an electric bike, because they're fantastic. Even for a person of my stature, on these hills outside, they still get me around, believe it or not. I just now need to remove the battery so I can try and get rid of some of the excess Christmas partying, but that's another story. So yeah, it's very difficult. What I would say is we do have some contacts that are coming on soon that is actually in the centre of Sulmona, speaks fantastic English, and his prices are superb compared to some others. Unfortunately, since COVID, car hire is ridiculous price. It didn't used to be like this, so it will come down. It's got to come down, because pre-COVID car hire was great. Nobody even thought about, if you're here for a couple of months and you spend but I know it is expensive now. But there is somebody whose information I will put on the and I may even get him on one day just to show his face, because he's a great person, and got a small business, and is doing the things he does is fantastic. So yeah, I've also heard, and I need to clarify this. This is a couple that bought from us, a UK couple that live in New Zealand. I understand they've actually leased a car from France, of all places. Who thought that the French would help us Brits out? Anyway, I need to find a little bit more information about that, and I will do, because apparently that worked out much cheaper. So how much cheaper, I don't know, but it will be something I will get back to you on. I'm going to put this one on, even though it's not a question. Claire is saying, Dave, I followed your advice. Or is it a question? I followed your advice about requesting a Codice Fiscale directly from the local Italian consulate where I currently live. Pleasantly surprised they turned around the request in under a day. Fantastic. Well done, Claire. So important. That is another thing. I know I've said it before. Codice Fiscales, we can get them for our clients and for our buyers. We can, but it's getting harder. And you can go onto you need a Codice Fiscale, a tax code, to be able to buy a property. Go on to your Italian consulate, your local Italian consulate website. Click on the search box at the top right. I'm going to do a short video about this. Click on the search button at the top right. Type in there Codice Fiscale. So Codice. I can see everybody getting a pen. And then Fiscale, Fiscale. Okay, type that into the top right. If you can't remember what I've just said, then just write Italian tax code in Google and it will come up, Codice Fiscale. Type that into the search box at the top right. Click on the first thing that comes out. Translate the page into English and follow the instructions. And some people, I mean, that's fantastic, Claire, they did it in a day. But usually it can take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but you will get them. It doesn't mean you start paying taxes here, and doesn't do anything bad to you. Just get prepared, be prepared. That's what I used to do when I was in the Cub Scouts when I was young. Can't believe I've just admitted to that. Anyway, not that there's anything wrong with them. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, another good one, and I'm going to say, I know you're going to say I've said this a lot tonight, but it is true. Getting home insurance for a holiday home. Some people get it in their own country, but again, another person who I've been told about, I'm going to get in contact with, again based in Sulmona, and again speaks fantastic English, who we will be contacting about home insurance. We do have some contacts now, but they only speak Italian, but feel free to email me info@homeinitaly.com, and we can pass details on. But I'm on the case for this and the car thing, because these are all important things. So just keep looking at the website. Stamps the same, which is a follow-on from talking about the restorations. If not money estimates, then how about the can it be done question? That's great point, Stamp. That is more important than anything else. We hear that on the videos a lot, but I don't see any answers. You know something, Stamps? And I'm not being naughty to my fellow YouTubers. I can call myself a YouTuber now, apparently. Anyway, but there are some channels, and there's not many that I sometimes sort of watch, And it makes me cringe when they say it would be so great to knock that out because then you'll get that view and then you could do this and then you could, underneath this terrace, you could add this nice conservative, you know, put glass in there and fill it out and do this and do it. Drives me insane because they clearly don't know what they're talking about. And this, what Stamps is saying here, is the question. Can it be done? Is it legally allowed to be done? And some of these people, and that's what annoys me, because I was going to warn people about this today, because when you are dealing with certain people off YouTube that are doing videos, fair play to them. But if they're helping people out, they need to be registered like everybody else. They need to have a registered business here before they can do anything, because that's only fair on everybody and on you more than anything. But please, please get the information right, or stay quiet and let people get the information from somebody that knows how to answer correctly. It sounds like I'm being I'm not, because our YouTube channel is fantastic thanks to your support, and I'm more than happy with our business and everything we're doing. The reason why we started doing these live streams during COVID was because of the amount of bad advice that's out there. And I hear too much of it, and it's not right at all. So yes, great question. The can it be done question. I would go to a geometer, because if somebody says to me, I've had a case, I've had a couple that's buying a property for us. It was for them, and it was really important that they could have air conditioning. But in this particular place where they were, because of the outlook of the street and everything else, they couldn't put it, they can't have it. Now, it would be so easy for somebody to say, yeah, of course you can, no problem. And then they've got no, there's no backup. It's you then that buys something. Or if somebody says, can I open this window, make this bigger? Somebody mentioned on one of our videos saying it would be fantastic to open a big window in this area to get this view. It overlooked a beautiful piazza. Now, it would be so easy for me to say, yes, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Because I'm not putting my name to anything. I'm just saying that, yes, it would be fantastic. The first thing I wrote was you can't, because it was a historical building. You can't just suddenly make these beautiful historical buildings look like, I don't know, a loft space in Manhattan. Not there's anything wrong with that. But if you're in a historical place, it doesn't suit. So that is a great point and a really important one. Again, this goes back to working with people who you can trust. And if something is so important, even if it's a swimming pool, people say so many times, again, some of these videos on saying, look how fantastic this garden would be to put a swimming pool in. You might not be able to put one in. Don't presume it. And these people shouldn't be saying it. So that, I would say, is more relevant than getting prices for everything that's going to be difficult. Okay, folks, I know that we're getting close to the end, so I'll keep this. If there's any more questions, I will answer a few more. And everybody's saying it's all working fine, so I'm glad. Let me have a quick look at this one. This is from Julie. Hi, Dave. Just want to know if I would be able to live as a resident in Italy on savings alone. Want to retire, but will not have a passive income. Unfortunately, not, Julie. Bit of a nightmare, that one. I know some people contacted me recently about this, saying that they don't have the passive income, but they have a huge amount of cash available in savings and things like that. The problem is, Julie, is the Italian government need to know that you move in here and can look after yourself. Now, if you've got whatever you got in the bank, let's say you've got $1 million in the bank, or whatever it may be, you could spend that tomorrow and nobody can stop you from doing that. And that's the problem then, because then you would have nothing. Then you would ask the Italian state to look after you, which once you become resident and everything else, then there are obviously benefits for Italians, for the Italian state to help people in certain situations, and you could potentially fall into that. So obviously the Italian state is going to say to you, we need to make sure that you can look after yourself. So I'm so sorry to say it, Julie, but savings, no matter how much, are not going to be accepted. The only thing you could do is get some professional advice to see whether you could do certain investments that you get money that you can then draw back from that as sort of an income. But unfortunately, without passive income, I don't think you're going to have much luck doing that. Sorry to say that. Let's quickly look, see if there's any more questions. Let's have a look at this one. The accomplished solopreneur. Is that how you say it? Do you like my Yorkshire accent? I've actually been told off by friends as well that I say certain things on videos that's not grammatically correct, apparently. So you will be hearing a big change in my voice over the next few months as I begin to learn the English language. Unfortunately, and I write the way I speak as well. But there you go. That's just me. So the accomplished solopreneur. I think I've got that right. Hey, Dave, any comments on getting older? It's not very nice, is it? Oh, sorry, 60s. And integrating into society when our Italian is at beginner level. Just do it, honestly. And that you will see that on, go back and look at the Christmas special that we did, which incidentally, for all of you tonight, I was going to show you tonight, go on to YouTube. I'm going to do it now. Hold on. Oh, no, I'm not. No, because when my internet went off, everything's gone off. So I don't want to. Go onto our YouTube page, click on, I'm looking at it now, you'll see where it says home, videos, shorts, live, playlists, and so on, and another couple of buttons. Playlists shows you which properties are still available, which are not, just the video properties. But if you go on the live section, then every single live stream that we've done is recorded and on there for you to see. Go back and have a look at the big, massive Christmas party that we did 2 weeks ago and just see what these people are saying. And these people are, I'm not going to say, no, Craig's over his 6. And well, yes, a couple of them are around that sort of age. Don't speak Italian. Just see what they say. It's something that is the best thing about living here, are the fantastic Italian people. And it's those that make life here so good. And you will be surprised how quick you will integrate. And I think it's our embarrassment. I used to think it was British people's embarrassment of us being very reserved and very, well, if we don't know the language, we won't talk at all. Whereas Italians, they just sort of look at it and think, oh well, he doesn't understand, but we'll talk anyway. And it's brilliant, and it really helps you integrate. So I would say, if this is a concern, forget about it. Trust me. But listen to some of the older, what other people say. Okay, we're coming to the old end now. Let's just have a quick look. Some people saying, somebody's saying that I live in Atlanta, not being able to find a consulate website. I expect it's an operator error. Just see, if you just write into Google Italian consulates in the USA, it gives you a list. Find the closest one to you, and that's probably the one that you should be looking at. I think we've just about, somebody's written a silly question. I like it when they do that. I'm going to answer this one. Steph, a silly question. It's not silly, but is it expensive or very hard DIY to scrape paint to expose stone? It's a bit of a messy job. Obviously, you don't scrape the paint. You need one of those, and I'm no good at DIY myself, but one of those, looks like a drill but has a chisel on the end, because the plaster can be quite thick. You need to chisel all that off, so that creates a nice mess. And be careful creating a mess, as I mentioned before. Somebody may, I'm not going to go down that line. Once you've done that, you then need to remove all the, I'm losing my English words, in between the stone, not the grout, the other bit, you know what I mean, the cement sort of that goes around the stone. Get rid of the old stuff. Then you need to buy, if you're only doing one wall, rather than buying sort of a sandblasting machine, you need to buy the hard wire brushes, scrub the stone until it comes up. So it does take some time. Chip any excess cement off. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, don't I? And then refill the in between the stone and smooth it off. And I know one person that's done it himself and made a great job. It did say it took a while to do a wall that was maybe 4 meters by 2.5 meters, something like that. But well worth doing. So it can be done, definitely. But it is quite messy. Be prepared for a lot of dust, but well worth it. Okay. Randall's saying, sorry guys, I'm going to watch this on catch up. It's my birthday, so being dragged out. Enjoy, Randall, and happy birthday to you. Okay, guys, I know there's a few more questions on there. I think everybody is I think we're just about done. Apologies to people who have sent questions, I will get round to them on the next, because there is some good questions in here, onto the next Q&A session. It is a little bit easy for me to mix these in once Tone is here. I don't like to admit it, but there you go. Anyway, that was the first one for 2024. Great number, considering I completely forgot to advertise it properly. So thank you very much for joining. We are back to, not remember, I'm still off. I'm here, but I'm not here. So we're on holiday. We're still on holiday until Monday, when we are back to work as normal, because the last celebrations in Italy are the 6th of January, and I'm going to celebrate big style. So glad it's a Saturday, so I have the Sunday as well, because then it's diet number 25, possibly. Anybody wants to do it with me? Send me an email. We can, keep in touch and see if we can drop the pounds together. In fact, whoever asked for that stonework to be done, we can all go and do that. We'll all chip in. That'll help get rid of a few pounds. We just can't then go to a bar or anything afterwards. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll be back again next Tuesday as usual at 7 p.m. Got some great stuff coming this year. Thank you again so much for all the support you gave us last year. I hope you continue to do that this year, and I really do wish you, well, we all wish you the best for 2024. We'll see you next Tuesday at the same time. See you soon.